So I'm going to talk about the Emerald Ash Borer cost calculator, and I really got to commend Deb for being able to summarize about 13 years of research in 20 minutes. So she really had to go through quite the clip. What I want to do is mention that this calculator, which runs probably best on Google Chrome, it's available on the web, and it allows you to use inventories. And this sort of dovetails into what Deb was talking about with this IPM approach. If you can do nothing else but one thing this year in preparation for Emerald Ash Borer, that would be to make an inventory. You would just have to find out how many ash trees you have, and I'm specifically talking about urban areas, so that you have an idea how big your problem is. It's very difficult for urban foresters in cities to get the attention of the officials who have the money unless they have an idea of how big the problem is. And that's pretty much why we developed this calculator, was to give these managers an idea of how much money it was going to cost, whether they meant cutting down and replacing the trees or treating the trees. And either way, it's going to cost some serious change. So what we did with this the Emerald Ash Borer cost calculator is that we took a lot of Deb's ideas that she has developed through her research about this invasion wave concept, and what we did was we tried to translate that into some management activities. So as you can see, so what we have here in this graph is on the y-axis is the percentage of the maximum, and then the x-axis is time. And the darker line is the affected ash, and basically the model assumes that the number of ash that are affected double every year. So in the cusp, in the early stages, we go from 1% to 2% to 4 to 8% damage, and then all of a sudden you go from 4 to 8 to 16 to 32 to 16 to 32, then all the way up to 100 in the course of 8 years. So typically, this model suggests that the trees, ash trees, will all die over an 8-year period. But what I want to draw your attention to here is this line over here, and this is the estimated numbers of emerald ash borer that are actually in a forest. There's been some studies that have been conducted in Ohio where they looked at the number of ash trees that were dying in forests, and as luck would have it, they were able to put emerald ash borer traps in key places in these forests, and they tracked the abundance. And what they found was that when the population when half the ash were dead, the population of emerald ash borer was at its peak. And then the next year, when it went from almost half dead all the way up to about 100% dead, the population of emerald ash borer dropped down to, about 20% of what it once was. So from the standpoint of management, we want to be very, very aggressive in this cusp and this crest period. And then in this post-crest, or Deb calls the core, where you are now in the center of the infestation, you can ease back on the number, on the amount of insecticides that you can use, and just wait until you start seeing early symptoms, and then periodically cure them with applications of insecticides. Okay. So the Emerald Ash Borer cost calculator has got some tutorials that are available. It teaches you how to get started and the like, as well as how to print and share reports. And what I'm going to do is just talk about a standard forest. This is sort of a made-up forest that I'm going to plug through the Emerald Ash Borer cost calculator. And I'm going to assume that a community has 1,600 ash trees, and that some of the ash trees, 50 of the ash trees are between 3 and 6 inches. 200 are between 50 are between 1 and 3 inches DBH. 200 are between 3 and 6. And 300 are between 6 to 12, and so on until we get up to greater than 36 inches. So we have this nice little bell-shaped curve. And I'm assuming this is based on the city of Indianapolis. The cost of stump and grinding removal of the stumps is based on the size of the tree, it's more expensive than larger trees. And what I like to do is compare three strategies. The first strategy I want to compare is replacing unsafe ash, which uses this doubling mortality curve to estimate the number of trees that are going to have to be replaced as the infestation progresses. And then the second strategy would be to replace all the ash in a proactive manner over an 8-year period. And then the third one would be to treat the best 80%, assuming that, for whatever reasons, about 20% of the ash probably are going to have to come down either because they're in poor health or because there may be a construction project. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to run these analyses under the assumption that it costs about $10 per inch for a triage injection every 2 years. And we get this, this is sort of a typical kind of estimate that we get when your emerald ash borer is new to an area. You start calling arborists. They give you somewhere between $10 and $15 per inch for the recommendations. And when I run the calculator, the black line refers to what happens if you do nothing and you replace the unsafe ash. You can see that over over years 5, 6, 7, 8, you lose about 68% of your ash trees, and it's quite expensive. The proactive removal keeps the cost nice and low, and the treatment also lowers the cost. But when you project the costs over time, and this is what we call the cumulative cost of year 1, year 2, and so on and so forth, you'll find that the treatment becomes very, very expensive, and it makes more sense to actually remove the trees. But in practice, that's not really what's happening. And the city of Chicago, lots of funny things happen in Chicago, but lots of good things are happening, and they have been treating their trees with ivermectin benzoate, and according to their statements, it costs $46 to treat a tree versus $1,000 to remove, and they have a 93% success rate. So I was trying to figure out how all this came from. So what we did was we surveyed cities that have actually been implementing treatment programs, and I plotted the price per inch, which is this x-axis over here. I think I lost my arrow. Yes. So on this axis over here, this is the price per inch, and this is the number of trees per bid. And when you're less than 200 trees per bid, the price bumps all over the place, anywhere from about $4.25 up to about $12 per inch. But when you get above that, it pretty much goes somewhere between, $4 and $5. And this is the $4.25 bid of Chicago. This is Fort Wayne. Okay, so these are some real things. So basically, if you are in a city, it really pays to get the bulk discount and work with outfits that can give you a reasonable price. So that when you change, so basically, I ran the analysis again, using rather than using the $10 per inch, I used the $4.35 an inch that Fort Wayne actually uses to treat their 1,000 trees that they protect. And what you see is a much more favorable outlook. It turns out that saving the best 80% of your trees is less expensive on an annual basis than either proactive removal and replacement or removing the trees as they die. And that over time, over a 25-year period, you wind up spending less money over time. And interestingly enough, for spending less money, you wind up having a much larger forest. This is what I would call, I measure the size of the forest in terms of the cumulative DBH over time, and basically this is the total DBH of the size of the forest. So that basically for a lower price, you get more than twice the amount of forest. So it seems to me pretty much a no-brainer that if you have trees that you want to save, you can save them, and it's going to be a lot less expensive than it would be to remove and replace them. There's been some economic optimization work that was done by one of those papers that Deb mentioned by Kovacs, and they found that in order to optimize the amount of benefit you get on trees that you have, as a city, have invested in, the 12-inch tree would be the optimal. So if you wanted to do this in an economic manner and not necessarily with politics, you'd want to save all the trees that were greater than 12 inches. So for more information, I did mention that we do have a webinar that I work with, and Deb and I are both involved in this thing, and Rich has talked on it too. This is Emerald Ash Borer University. That's at the emeraldashborer.info website, and we have regular webinars on a regular basis, and tomorrow we'll actually have a webinar by Joe LaForest on reporting invasive species using apps. So with that, I'm ready to turn it back to the moderator.